Connect.
Yes, now we got a notification.
Okay, great. All right. So, can you take a sip of water? Did you take a sip of water
Yep.
quickly? Okay. And what did you feel?
Felt nice.
Okay. All right. So take another sip of water. Now, this time, when you take a sip of water, close your eyes. Be absolutely mindful of the sip you're taking. Let it get washed down through your throat. Follow your throat and, going into your stomach. Feel the temperature of the water. Feel how, what is the texture of the water? How does it make you feel? The taste of the water, etc., etc. So do that activity a little slowly while your eyes are closed. Is the water warm, hot, cold, lukewarm?
A little cold, refreshing.
Okay. Anyone else who has an experience other than what Nikhil just said? And I hope it's only water.
This time around, it was more mindful. I guess it settles me down.
Absolutely. So the first time around, we took a sip of water. The water and us, as in the object and us, were two separate entities. Whereas the second time when we took the sip of water, when we mindfully took the sip of water, the object and us, the entity and us became one. And that is what is called as embodying something. When there is no differentiation between the two objects meeting. So what words come to your mind when you think of the word embodying? Hey, hi Kunal, I see you.
Hi, just give me a minute. I'm getting coffee for myself. It's been a long day, but I really wanted to be here, so I'm here.
Sure. And what words come to your mind when you hear the word embody?
Being one with something,
Being one with something. What else? So one word that comes to my mind is integration. Is there any other word that comes to your mind? So what are you supposed to embody here? When we're talking about this competency here, what are we supposed to embody here?
The coach mindset.
Yeah, the coaching mindset, the presence, the awareness, uh, the other attributes that probably coaching would ask us to have as a result of the training etc that we go through. So embodying all of that means that becoming one with it, integrating it in your practice, in your essence, in your being, not just doing what is asked to be done. That is what is embodying really about. Let's look at what Yoda has to say about embodying. I've shared some. Okay. Pay attention to when you're listening to this video, pay attention to words like readiness, patience, commitment, serious mind, the power of here and now, etc. that he's talking about in the video. Of course, his English is a little cracked and the way he speaks, but just pay attention to what he says.
When you told me, he's not ready. Yoda. I am ready. Ben, I can be a Jedi. Ben, tell him I'm ready. Ready, are you? What knows you ready? For 800 years have I trained Jedi. My own counsel will I keep. I'm who is to be trained. Jedi must have the deepest commitment, the most serious mind. This one, a long time have I watched. All his life as he looked away to the future, to the horizon, never his mind on where he was, what he was doing. Adventuring, excitement. A Jedi craves not these things.
So what did you see? What was Jedi? What is it about becoming a Jedi master? What is Yoda really talking about? If you have to use the word embodying and what Yoda has to say, what connections, interconnections do you see? So a few of them I've already noted down. So one is readiness, patience, commitment, a serious mind, a power of here and now. So most of the times in a session, we are fixated on what's going to be the future of the session. What do we want our client to become? Or what is the outcome of the session? We're more performative, but can you focus on the here and now of the emerging realities, of the presence in the conversation and what's really going on within that moment? That's really about embodying the coaching mindset or embodying the coaching mind.
When you
Let's look at now the other part, the other big word, which is the mindset. So we've already looked at embodying. Now we're going to look at the other big word, which is basically the mindset. So here is where, we're going to look at the iceberg theory of behavior. I'm sure each one of you has read about this, learned about this somewhere, or understood this in some way or the other. But what it really talks about is the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So the conscious is what is visible, the unconscious is what is underneath, which is not visible. So what is what are the elements of an iceberg? One is the behavior, which is the conscious, which is seen. And what are the unseen parts of the unconscious mind, or something that gets discovered or revealed through the behavior of an individual is their attitudes, their values, their motives, their beliefs, their self-concept, and their scripts. We're going to unpack each of these words so that we understand them a little clearly and also interconnect it with what therefore is mindset. So behavior is what is overtly, directly visible. Facial expression, your language, the speaking or silence or tone or volume or speech, etc. These are all parts of behavior. So what is observable in a person, what you can see, what is visible, what is above the surface. So what behaviors do you think you exhibit as a coach in a coaching session? Something that you know of?
Quietly listening, focusing.
Mm-hmm. Listening is one behavior that you exhibit as a coach. Anything else?
Yeah, like, physical expressions like nodding, thinking, mm, like
Paraphrasing.
affirmations. Yes, paraphrasing. Yes.
Yeah. And giving positive regard or affirmations, like you said, all of these things are some things that you end up, showing as a coach. Now let's look at the other part of this. So what is an attitude? Which is just below the iceberg. Attitude is the inferred form of behavior, orientation or preference we have for something. Example, outgoing versus reserved. That's an attitude. So whenever you're oriented towards something, you like something, you dislike something, you have a strong notion about something, it is showing your attitude. It is showing what you probably prefer, what you probably are tilted towards, are oriented towards. So what attitude do you hold as a coach? Can you think of any?
Empathy, would that be
Empathy,
one?
Open mind.
open mind, yeah, and can be a value and an attitude as well. So your values can help you form your attitudes. So the next layer is values, and values are your personal code of ethics that help us in making decisions, integrity, love, wisdom, honesty, etc., etc. Value honesty, etc. Sorry. And so if you look at values, so Rocky value survey or Rocky's value theory really talks about two different types of values. He speaks about intermittent values and terminal values. So terminal values are the end state of affairs. So what you want to have, the end state of mind. For example, wisdom, harmony, etc. At the end of the day, you want to have wisdom, harmony, peace, etc. in your life. Whereas intermittent values are means to that end. So honesty, responsibility, open communication, etc., will help you have a harmonious relationship, will help you have wisdom in your life. So something that's a means towards the end. So values are your personal code of ethics. They are primarily useful in decision making. They help you make certain decisions. They act as internal compass. So when you are in a dilemma, when you're confused, you look at your values and say, hey, this is what I want to do, basis the values and principles I hold. Motives are usually about gaining something for ourselves and protecting our self-interest. So for example, power, prestige, love, etc. are motives. They are the internal tension that drives you towards a certain behavior. What is the difference between needs, wants, expectation, and motives? I know we use some of these words very loosely and very interchangeably. So, out of curiosity, what is really the difference between expectation, needs, wants, and motives?
Our motives drive all of these. And
Go deeper. Somewhere there. So needs are absolute essentials, or sometimes there are some things that you desire to have in your life. For example, let's say an openness in a coaching relationship. It's an absolute essential and a desire to have, desirable state to be in a coaching relationship. So that's a need. But let's say if you want to convert it into a want, then you would say that, hey, if you tell me this, if you act in a certain way, then I will feel that this relationship is an open relationship or it has openness in the relationship. So let's say only if you tell me about your childhood and you speak about all parts of your life and you tell me the truth, will I feel that there is openness in this relationship? That's a want. Motive is I want to have openness in my relationship. So I will exhibit certain behaviors. As a coach, I will be authentic, I will be vulnerable, I will ensure I create a safe space because that will ensure or that will drive me towards having openness in that relationship. So it is that internal tension that helps you act, react in a certain way so that you can have what you want. And expectation is basically what do you desire of the relationship, what you want of the relationship. So expectation and want are mostly closely interlinked with each other. Need is something that's most basic, something that you must have. For example, roti kapda makan. We've read of the Maslow's hierarchy, which says, there are these basic needs, and then there are belonging needs, and then there are safety needs. Those are most basic and most common and essential needs that one may have in a relationship. What they do about those needs, how they express their wants, will decide how the relationship really functions. Okay, so we go to the next layer, which is the beliefs. Beliefs are generalized, unconscious conclusions that we have constructed about how the world is, or about how people in general are, based on our interpretations or our own experiences of the world. For example, one of the belief statements is hard work pays off. Nice people meet nice people. Good meets good. All of these are called as belief statements because these are generalized and unconscious conclusions that we have made for ourselves, and we operate out of those things in order to conform to our own belief systems. So we may have religious beliefs, political beliefs, we may have personal beliefs. Beliefs are of many types and kinds. So think of what is one of the beliefs that you hold as a coach.
That coaches knows the answer. Uh,
It's also an encouraged belief.
yeah.
I like how you put it, Kunal. Thanks. Self-concept. Self-concept is the view that we unconsciously hold about ourselves. This, so it is mostly around the dimensions of likability and competence. Am I liked, or am I, and am I good enough? So, transactional analysis really speaks about these injunctions. Some injunctions are basically all the verbal, non-verbal messages that we picked up from our parents and made it our own. And it talks about some of these injunctions like be perfect, hurry up, be strong, and some more of these, which really is the whole idea of. So if you look at be perfect, that is an injunction that we must have taken from our parents when we wanted to feel more competent in front of them. We wanted to show that, hey, we are good enough, we can handle this, we are really worth it. And that's the self concept that we may hold, and therefore we may end up doing certain things. Please me is another belief, or is another injunction that we may have taken from our parents, where we want to be likable, we want to be always kind, we want to sometimes shut down our feelings because it's not invited here. And if you want to talk about your feelings, then you are not liked, so therefore don't talk about your feelings, just shut up and stay where you are. So you would rather be more quiet, etc. And that will be something that is a part of the self concept that we hold around, am I liked? So what is the self concept that we are discovering about ourselves with regards to coaching? Do you want to be liked by a coachee?
So sometimes, can I answer this?
Yes, please go ahead, Soumya.
Sometimes we kind of, when you said that, please, the driver that please me
Please me.
comes. So as a coach, we are inhibited in asking courageous question or challenging questions, because we want to be look like as a nice coach, as a
Yeah.
nice human being, right? So these are the biases that kind of plays, or the scripts that plays in our head, that if I ask this, what will that client think? I'm not a good person. So
Yeah, I will not confront my client because I don't
Yeah.
want to be disliked.
yeah, because if you don't like conflict yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because my value is I want harmony.
Yeah. Value becomes harmony. That's right.
Yeah. And so I am tilted towards, which is my attitude of non-conflicting relationships, of having
Yeah.
no fights.
No fights.
So that's my attitude, and therefore my belief is that if I have no fights, no confrontations, then I'm okay.
Yeah. And fights are bad, or conflicts are bad. That's
All
another
conflicts
belief.
are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Soumya. Thanks very much for that example. Scripts. One of my favorites. That's at the bottom most of the iceberg. And it is one of the most beautiful things to discover for yourself. And scripts is very, very unconscious. It's childhood developed, usually it's also called as a life path or a life plan that you write for yourself early in your life, somewhere between the age of 5 and 15. Um, and, scripts serve as at the earliest stage, they serve as a coping mechanism to the situations around you, because as children we are very vulnerable. Our prefrontal cortexes are not developed, so our decision making capabilities are still at the weaker end. We still don't have an integrated mind, so we end up thinking either or, this or that, good or bad. So when a child comes and tells you, I hate you mama, I hate you dada, at that time they're not listening to, or they're not saying it, saying, hey, they're not talking of it in this sense. Hey, I don't, I love you, but I hate this part of you. They don't have an integrated mind. So when they come and tell you, they're in their absolute sense of hate, saying, I hate you. That's it, either or. There is no love in that moment. So they are usually a conclusion of who I am rather than what I do. Self-concept is largely basis what I do. You derive your self-concept from the self-image, the idealized self, then the need-based self, etc., that you have, and then you come at or arrive at self-concept. But here, in this case, in scripts, it's about who you are, who I am. So all of this combined together, which is your conscious part of your mind and your unconscious part of your mind, which consists of your beliefs, behavior, attitude, your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, your wants, desires, etc., etc., etc. Together is what forms your mindset. Together is what you talk about, saying, hey, this is what is a mindset, therefore. This happens for us. So there is a mindset that we have, which we hold as a coach. And this happens for your coachee also. There's a mindset that they hold. Let's look at Yoda and what does he teach about mindset. So when you're looking at the video, look at, some words like unlearning what you've learned, being able to work with the emerging, ongoing, simultaneity and poetry of life, etc. So just be watchful of how he's talking about all of these things. He may not be using the same words, but he's talking of it in different essence.
Hear you nothing that I say.
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No, no different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
I can't. It's too big.
So did you pick some words that he spoke of? He largely focused on what beliefs one can hold, which deter them or which can hold them back from being the full version of themselves.
Unlearn.
Yeah. Unlearn what you've learned.
Yeah, I like he said, do not try, just do it. Because when I say try, I am already giving myself an escape route. So yeah.
Yeah, there is that famous activity, right? Try to pick up a pen. And there's no trying. You either pick it up or you don't pick it up. So absolutely. So he does speak about a lot of beliefs that we hold. And in fact, towards the end in the video, when he shows him how to do this, and he says that, hey, I can't believe you did it. And he tells him back, Yoda tells him back saying that, yeah, that's exactly why you couldn't do it. So it's about what you think in your mind and what is possible, what is not possible, etc., that will hold you back as a coach. Okay, let's do a reflective activity. Do you have a diary and a pen with you around, or maybe your phone to take some notes? Anything is fine, whatever you're comfortable. Here is the first question. Write down what others expect of you. Write down what others and what you expect of you as a coach or a professional. Things that you feel you should be, you must be. That is expected of you as a coach. One or two things. Okay, any reflections? Anything that comes to your mind? Tell me one or two things that you ought to be as a coach, that whether ICF or the society or your coaches expect of you, or you yourself expect of yourself.
A good listener.
A good listener?
Aishwarya, can I share something?
Yes, go ahead, Ruchika.
So I remember when I initially started off my coaching journey, a lot of times, I mean, most of us would sort of agree that there is a certain demeanor a coach has, right? Either in the form of the presence or the body language and how we communicate as well. And to some extent, like you just mentioned, the iceberg element, right? What is not shown. And that is also the energy, which is like you have to be very subtle, you have to be very grounded. So that is something I would hear very, very often during the initial days. And that also impacted largely in the coaching journey initially, because that was the set expectation. Because if everybody's if you keep hearing it, then it becomes like carved in the stone sort of thing. So that is one thing I thought I'll highlight.
Yeah, and a lot of what is expected of you, a good listener, subtle, etc., have their own meanings as per the expectees on you. So the one who is expecting of you has their own meaning and therefore is thrusting it upon you, saying that, hey, this is what a good coach really looks like. Okay, now write what you truly believe about how you want to show up as a coach, your own inner compass. So if there is one statement that you want to write down for yourself, or how you want to show up as a coach. Something that's rooted in your own values.
Mm. For me, I feel being neutral and holding space.
Being neutral and holding space.
Yeah.
That's something that you really believe in as a
Yeah.
coach. Okay, cool. Now imagine if you were to hold both these polarities of what others expect of you and what you want to hold for yourself. What would it then look like? And take a moment to write it down for yourself. Any reflections?
Reflection is that it's tough.
Ah, yeah, and that's okay too. Acknowledging that is okay too. And therefore, it brings us to Orders of Consciousness by Kagan. He's spoken of 5 orders of consciousness. I've taken 3 of the most relevant one for this session for us to understand this. So he talks about socialized mind, the socially constructed mind, something that we have been taught to do, something we are subjected to, due to our experiences, how our childhood has been, what we have, what trainings we've undergone, how, what was the education that we've undergone, etc., etc. The entire part of what we've been taught to do or taught to believe or taught to behave in a certain way. That is called as a socialized mindset. So let me give you an example. You're a corporate coach. You end up coaching a client, and your stakeholder says, "Hey, you know what? I have a feedback for you, and your coaching was not really good. Our stakeholders were not very happy, and we didn't sort of see the outcome that we wanted to see." If you were to operate from your socialized mind, you would say, "Oh my God, I did a bad job. And how could I have not, not fulfilled the expectation of my stakeholders?" Or you would say, maybe the stakeholders, this organization is not really worth working with. People here are not, not so great. I don't think they understand coaching. I think this is, I don't think they even understand my role. They don't understand this, etc. And then I would walk out of that organization. So I am operating out of a socialized mind of believing in either or, seeing, either blaming or, receding into some kind of self-doubt, self-blame, etc., etc., blaming other or blaming myself. Let's say I move a step higher and I say, I want to use my self-authoring mind, which is root myself into my own personal power, agency. So then what will I do in the similar example is I would say, okay, I hear what you're saying. And I see why your stakeholders wouldn't be happy. Can we inquire a little more? Can we understand what were the needs that were unmet? What was the expectation that didn't get fulfilled, etc., etc. And then you will mull over that feedback and then go back with a fresh response. That is what would be moving from a socialized mindset to a self-authoring mind. Now, let's say you got to move to the self-transforming mind. How would that look like in this example? You would say, I hear what the system has to say about me. I see what my clients are saying about me. I'm also inquiring about what needs did not get met. And I am fully present to the system I am creating in this moment through my coaching practice. What is the system that is getting created because of your coaching practice, because of the way you're presenting yourself in the system? That would mean holding the paradoxes moving in with an integrated mind, also being able to hold the polarities together. You know, one of my professors taught this to us very beautifully. Most of the times when we think of polarities, we think of it like this. Am I right? But what if I told you, if you were to think of polarities and do this? Two sides of the same coin. So being able to hold paradox. So what Kagan really speaks about mindset, that mindset is equal to structure of the meaning making process that one holds. How you organize experiences of self, others, and systems, and therefore from which place do you respond from? Are you responding from the socialized mind, self-authoring mind, or are you responding from the self-transforming mind? Our favorite character Yoda is here, and he's teaching us something about what it means to have a transforming, self-transforming mind. So when you are looking at the video, mark some words like the force, the use of force, etc. In our context, it is more of the conscious and the unconscious, the culture, the self, the others, the system, etc. that we hold together in order to be a coach to someone. And those are all parts of the force.
I can't. It's too big. Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.
You want the impossible.
Great. So let's look at what ICF definition. Finally, we come to the main point. Finally, we come to the real meat, the real deal. Okay. So the definition really says is that engages in ongoing personal and professional learning and development as a coach, works with coaching supervision or mentor coaches as needed, develops and maintains a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. Take a quick 1-2 minutes and read through all the 10 competencies, the sub-competencies that have been laid out, and tell me which one of these is drawing you towards it. Something that you have been practicing more or something that you wish to practice. Both are fine. And we can, whenever you're ready, you can start talking about.
Can I hear the question again?
So take a minute, look at the 10 sub-competencies that have been put out by ICF on, embodying coaching mindset. Think of what, in this among these 10 competencies, what are you drawn towards? It can be something that you are practicing more often these days, or something that you wish to practice more often, but you've yet not formed a practice around.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
No problem.
I think I would say 9 draws me the most, nurturing openness and curiosity in oneself and the client. and the coaching process.
And say more about what draws you towards it.
I think what draws me towards it is the curiosity of what is possible. Not getting attached to an outcome of this is what I want out of it, or this is what should come out of it, but a curiosity that that magic can happen, if we are just present for each other. Yeah. Or if I am just present authentically for the client.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Yeah, working with the emerging reality. What is coming up in the moment?
Yeah.
Somehow for me, the first competency that the clients are responsible for their own choices. It kinds of, I don't know, it may be me. It helps the whole space in terms of holding space, not attaching ourselves to the outcome of the client. And at the same time, because the moment we know that the whole thing is his journey and his choice, there's kind of detachment, but still we are holding that space for them and we are more present to the client. So it works two-way. That's how I feel about this competency.
Yeah, absolutely. We are a combination of our values, beliefs, attitudes, etc., self-concept, scripts that we hold together, and all of that together with our motives. So
Yeah.
therefore, choice making is a very innate process. And there, if we can bring that out for our clients of what choices they are making, one is that through the process, saying that okay, you are responsible for the choices you're making. Also, reflecting back the choices you're making will help them become more responsible to the choices they're making.
Yeah.
So yeah, it works both ways.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thing that any other competency? Kunal, you unmuted yourself.
I have a question. The seventh one maintains emotional, physical, mental well-being in preparation for, throughout, and following each session. Is this for myself as a coach, or it is in regards to coaches' emotional and physical well-being?
So I see it very holistically. I start with self because maintains emotional, physical, and mental well-being in preparation for thoughts. This is more for self, Kunal, that I see, because these competencies are where you get assessed,
Yeah.
not your coachee.
Yeah, but
Your coachee may have a feeling of whether you've been able to do something for them or not do something for them, or be in a certain way or not be in a certain way. But this is more from the standpoint of saying, okay, am I so? For example, one of the physical preparations that I do before a coaching conversation is setting up my physical space. Meditating a little bit before the session so that I can, regulate my own breathing just before the session. Those are some of the practices that I would do to emotionally, physically, mentally hold space for myself before I
yeah.
some other practices that I do is after a session, I end up sitting about 5-10 minutes, noting down what happened in the session. What were some of my own thoughts? Was I irritated in certain places? What caused that irritation? And doing that self work and journaling for myself. So that's that is what it really means. It's about, are you able to do this for yourself before, after your sessions, and therefore how is your coaching practice changing and transforming? The small rituals that we have. So here's something that I did as an activity for my own self. This is the Kagan's model, and I combined it with appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry is nothing but positive inquiry. Is looking at the lighter side, the enthalpy in the system, the positive in the system. So when I say system also as in a person and as an organization. So socialized mind and its myths. So some of the myths that we've been raised with is negative emotions and darkness have more power than positive affect, or negative emotions are dysfunctional, they're bad, they're not supposed to have. One must not have negative emotions. So these are some kind of either or things that we've been taught as children and as we grow up. But whereas if you were to, think of the same thing from a self-authoring mind, positive affect is just as contagious and as powerful as negative affect. Think of the time that you fell in love with someone. The motive, the motivation to meet, the motivation to see each other, the motivation to do things for each other, etc., was very, very high. So there was the positive emotion that drove you towards a certain behavior, so a goal-directed behavior, an action, etc. So self-transformation, if you were to think of the self-transforming mind, get into an inquiry, ask her what is working for your client, what gives life. If they're displaying a certain kind of behavior, what is really giving life to that behavior? What are the learnings? What energizes them, brings them closer to their dreams, etc. There's a beautiful story of an African, street children, and there was this researcher who went there to sort of study the African street children. And they found out that there were hundreds and hundreds of NGOs that came to these street children and wanted them to be removed from the streets and put in a safe place, give them homes, give them education, etc. But they would invariably go back to coming back to the streets. So this researcher, out of curiosity, was studying appreciative inquiry those days, and he said that, what brings you back to the street? Why do you keep coming back to the street? And they said the safety that we hold here is of togetherness. We are all together here. Over there, we're not together. We're separated because we're supposed to be living in different places, and then, we'll be put in different schools, different classes. But here we are all together. And that's what brings us back here. So what may at the prima facie, at the surface level, look like, oh, this is a negative behavior. We're trying to give you food, shelter, etc., and you want to go back to the streets. But look at what is driving that behavior. What is motivating them to go back to what I assume to be unsafe? Change is radical, requires efforts and a lot of work. A lot of change management theories have big models. They say this will happen, then that will happen, then unfreeze, and then freeze, and then this and that, and a lot of things. But appreciative inquiry says inquiry is change. The moment you enter a system, whether it is the client or whether it's an organization system, and you start asking questions, you're already changing the mindset of that particular system. Your first question is called as the first faithful question. So what is changing in you as we are talking? What are you discovering about yourself? Some of the questions that you may want to ask your client. Imagination and reality are two separate things. As children, we are constantly told that, hey, this is your imagination, this is not reality. Look at reality, learn to look at reality, look at facts, look at things as they are. But our image of the future becomes our future. So it is, in fact, the image of one's future that drives them towards towards the current behavior. So whatever you see in behavior right now, they have a certain image. What would you wish to be? How else can you see this? What does work? Bring in the imaginative process through stories, through mythologies, and through what do you wish would happen here in this situation. You can take a quick screenshot if you would like, and then we move to the last part. And I think I've overshot. I'm going to take another 3 minutes. I hope that's okay. Okay, that's it. So any change, anything that needs to be embodied has to be embodied at 3 levels. One is the mindset, the skill set, and the behavior. So in order to embody a coaching mindset, the competency of embodying a coaching mindset, one is the mindset of self-transforming mind, the integrated mind, the mind that can hold paradoxes, the mind that can hold polarities, the mind that can differentiate my preferences over others and hold both together. Curious, care-fronting, intuitive, sensing, mindfulness practices, etc. Are some of the other keywords. Skill set, learning to unlearn, deepening one's own practice through learning and development. Observations, being observing of what's really going on. Agency and personal power, working on one's own self-authoring mind through working on one's agency and, and personal power. Use of self as an instrument, looking at one's instrumentality, the tools that we hold that help us show light, that give us light, and that help us make the or get bring about the outcomes that we want to bring about. Behavior, inquiring, dialoguing, making invisible visible, articulating the unarticulated, reflective journaling, awareness, and presence. All of this combined together is what would really help one embody a coaching mindset. That's all, guys. And so, where's the group? I see hearts. Thank you so much, Soumya. Something that you picked up, any one thing, something that you feel I want to read a little more about this, that's also fine.
I like the Kagan appreciative inquiry, Aishwarya. I'm intrigued.
Combination, yeah, the golmaal of.
Thank you so much for facilitating it so beautifully. Thanks.
Thank you, Soumya. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All
plus
right.
one to Soumya, and holding the paradox together, seeing it as two sides of the coin. Yeah, it resonates with me.
Yeah. Credit to Mukul Joshi. Yeah. I like the dimension of this presentation. Thank you so much, Anushri. And I hope I didn't miss out any questions on the chat. Okay, so happy Friday, guys. Keep your spirits high, literally and figuratively. And see you in the next class. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.